Hello and welcome to the YouTube version of the Soulful Self podcast. I am your host, Shareece Cannonier, and I am so honored, privileged, and excited to have you here. If you have been listening to or watching this show for a while, then you understand that some of this podcast's core beliefs have to do with elevating the cultural and societal standard for emotional intelligence and spiritual awareness to a whole new level. And if you agree with these values, if you hold these values in your own heart as well, I would love for you to consider helping this channel and this message grow, reach a larger audience by liking this video, commenting below, and subscribing to my channel. This will help us reach a larger audience and make a bigger impact. Thank you for your consideration. Now let's get on with the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Soulful Self podcast. I am your host, Shareece Cannonier, and as always, I am extremely excited to have you all here today for another incredible episode. Today, we are featuring a returning guest by the name of Dr. Shareece Cannonier. Dr. Shareece is a licensed clinical psychologist who is passionate about spirituality, psychology, and helping people heal from trauma as well as toxic relationships. She was originally featured on episode 53 of this podcast entitled Healing in a Culture of Toxicity. Now, one of the things that I absolutely love about doing this podcast is that it has afforded me the opportunity to connect with some very beautiful and brilliant people, and Dr. Shareece Cannonier is absolutely one of those people. She and I have developed a friendship since she first came on the show, and she even invited me on her channel, her YouTube channel entitled Spirit Soul Sense, to do a collaboration video in which we talk about polyamory, the 7 Aslan mirrors, sex work and sexuality, and so much more. That video was so wonderful. There's something about the energy between us when we come together that is explosive and fun, and I will absolutely link to that video on her channel in the show notes for anybody who is interested. I highly recommend it. That was a great conversation. But as for today's episode, we are getting into the topic of what it means to do, quote unquote, the work. The inner work, doing the work in order to grow spiritually, transform personally, and heal emotionally. There are so many different ways, so many different varieties of medicine, if you will, for us to be able to heal ourselves. And in this episode, we go into our own personal journeys of how we have done the work as well as what the work can mean for other people. We also talk about some powerful ways to tap into your own internal guidance system. We talk about developing a relationship and maintaining it with a higher power, as well as what the journey to wholeness is really all about. So today's episode is filled with some tremendous insights and wonderful tips, and I'm so excited to get started. So without further ado, please help me welcome back Dr. Shareece Cannonier to the Soulful Self podcast. Dr. Shareece Cannonier, welcome back to the Soulful Self podcast. It's so amazing to have you here again. How are you doing today?
I am so good. I'm in the presence of Miss Shareece.
Oh, yes.
Oh, it's always it feels so divine when I'm with you, talking with you. So I am so grateful to be here.
Exactly. Thank you. Me too. I know I came on your show, your YouTube platform a little while back, and the energy just becomes so potent when we get together. It's like it's magnified. So I'm really excited for today as well.
Same.
Yeah, so we're just going to get into our conversation today. We'll be going back and forth, asking each other questions, going deeper. And the first point that we have prepared today is, what is the work and what are some practical steps to doing it, right? Because in the spiritual community, we're always talking about, quote unquote, the work. You have to be doing your work, doing the work in order to get different results in life or whatever. So what does it mean to you to do the work?
Oh, the work. Yeah, it's such one of those buzzwords now. Everybody's talking about the work, doing the work. And I think the exact work is different for different people. But generally speaking, the work is improving the quote unquote negative parts about yourself. We also use the word shadow work, which is like, I, I'm not against the word shadow work, but it feels similar to the work in that, what is it even? What is it even? And I think one of the best explanations is the things that irritate you about other people are glimpses into areas that you can grow, ways that you can become a better person. It's things that you're not really aware of that maybe somebody else has to point out to you. But God, universe, spirit is always giving you opportunities to be better, to have more peace, have more calm, even when things in your environment aren't going exactly the way you want it to be. So the work is taking steps to become better, whatever that means for you. I say one of my themes in life is learning when to let go. Sometimes I let go too quickly, and sometimes I take a long time, and it was very obvious to let that go. That's one of the things I work on, right? I've done it over the last 10 years, still working on it. It gotten better, but still work on it. And then I also, right, the second part about practical tips, like everybody say, oh, do the work, figure out what triggers you. How? How do you do that? I think spiritual self-help books are a great place to start because most of them, I think most of the ones that I've read give those practical tips. I also like to say, because I'm in a spiritual group where people are often looking for those answers, right? All of the answers are inside of you, right? I'm a psychologist. I help people do the work, but I'm not doing the work for them. All of the answers you need, all of the help you need is inside of you. And if you do have a guide or somebody to help you, it should feel safe. It should feel helpful. It should feel like, yes, this is actually making a difference in my life. So spiritual books from some of the great thought leaders of our time, right? For me, Eckhart Tolle was the first book that I read that had me thinking, wow, I don't have to overthink. That was an epiphany for me. I don't have to overthink. I thought thinking constantly was what I was supposed to be doing. It's just something I do. I'm always thinking. My mind is always going, I'm going to just keep going with it. But that introduction to you don't have to think in that book changed my life.
The Power of Now, is that the one you
Power of Now. Yes. The Power of Now. Eckhart Tolle. Yes, the Power of Now was powerful for me. So practicing meditation, I think, is another practical tip. I think if everyone meditated every day, we wouldn't really have much problems in life.
Okay.
Everybody would be tapping into the divine.
Yes.
So, right?
Yes.
Like meditation is a wonderful tool. The new word is mindfulness, do things in a mindful way. For a while, I stopped sitting down and meditating because I said, I'm gonna make my whole life a meditation. I'm gonna do everything mindful. And that was great. But I've added back in like 30 minutes of actual meditation in the morning because the stillness of doing nothing while being mindful is also really helpful and really powerful for like insights and downloads and like channeling the peace, being inspired is. So I recommend the meditation, reading books, and all of the books say the same thing. Do they not? Do you feel like all the books say the same thing, just in a different way?
Yes. There's a million ways to say the same thing.
Yeah. And so all they're saying is choose joy and peace. Really, all the books are saying that, but they give different strategies for how you can do that. And so whatever resonates most with you, wherever you are right now in life, is the book for you, right? For me, The Power of Now was really wonderful. I also really like Gary Zukav. So his book, Seed of the Soul, is my favorite spiritual book. It's very metaphysical-y, right? And so I don't think everyone it would resonate with, but for me, It's the book. It's the book.
Okay. Yes. Okay, girl, you said a lot. Okay. So you're talking about meditation and practicing acceptance, right? Choosing joy and peace. And, a part of the acceptance piece is also being unconditionally with whatever emotion you're feeling, the negative ones, the pain, the sorrow, the suffering, just being present with it, allowing yourself to feel it. I think that that's a huge part of doing the work as well. And you said something really powerful that really hooked my attention, which is that you are a psychologist and you see in people that all of the answers are within us already, right? We don't have to outsource our own guidance.
Right.
And so I actually had a really powerful experience with this yesterday.
Oh.
So someone who is close to me is going through something serious with her daughter. Her daughter has started inflicting harm on herself, started engaging in self-harm. And because she knows that I had that as part of my story when I was an adolescent, I used to cut myself. She was reaching out to me for advice, and she was like all frazzled and her mind was going in every different direction. And she was looking for the answers everywhere outside of herself. She was trying to get advice from anybody because she just didn't know what to do.
Right.
And so I love how she was willing to try this with me, because I got her to kind of calm down, and I said, let's just take a couple breaths. And I asked her to close her eyes, and I asked her to focus her attention on her heart and start asking her heart for the answers. And she got this really beautiful insight, and it came pretty quickly. It was because she was asking, she was like, okay, there were like two options that she was considering. It was one that might seem more societally normal, right, to go down that road. And then there was another one that her heart was like, no, this is the answer. And once she got that confirmation for herself, she was like overwhelmed with peace, and she got these other downloads. She was like, wow, I just need to show her that I'm there for her and love her no matter what, and accept her and not ask her to change and all this stuff, right? And I was like, there you go. The answer didn't come from anywhere outside of you. It came from within you. And so that's the difference, though, between letting the mind take control versus tapping in and letting the heart lead, right?
Yes.
And that's doing the work as well.
That is doing the work as well. I do want to add the point, because there is no shame in getting help. You do have all the answers inside of you. So I do want people to feel empowered to look within, but I also want to add that it's okay to get help. That's sort of how the universe works anyway. You have people in your life that are there to help you, right? So she had you to help her look within herself. And I feel like that's the purpose of guides or therapy or any of the things outside, or a book, right? They're telling you things that inside, your soul already knows, but needs a reminder to bring it to the present moment. Like, oh yeah, I mean, that makes sense. That I get that, right? It's like a ting in the mind that switches, and then you're like, okay, I guess I could do something different. I could try something different. I could respond different to people instead of doing what I've always been doing, right? That's really
cool. Yeah, exactly. I love that, right? And that's an important way to differentiate what is a good guide, teacher, therapist, coach versus somebody who is not necessarily going to get you where you want to go. Somebody who is always guiding you back home to yourself. That's a keeper.
I love that. Woo! Somebody who keeps guiding you back to yourself. Yes. Or are you seeking out from someone who wants you to need them?
Yeah, creating a dependency.
Because that is not where the healing is, if it's always them telling you it's outside of you.
That's ego.
That's ego. Yes. Good. That is so good.
Yes. Okay. So the only thing that I would add to that point about what is quote unquote the work, my definition that I came up with is that it's about becoming self-aware. It's about recognizing the power that your internal world has over your external world and taking the necessary steps to adjust that, your internal world, in order to get different results in life. So it can look like repatterning cycles of self-abandonment, healing childhood wounding, reprogramming your subconscious mind, practicing forgiveness, compassion, and more somatic things like breath work or other types of body release, working with plant medicines, right? Integrating your shadow. And it's the same medicine is not for everyone. So it's really an individual path when it comes to the work.
We've all had different life experiences, and so it's going to be different things that resonate with us.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I love that. Okay. Do you have any other things to say about the work, or should we move on?
The work is never done. Maybe that's the only thing. The work is never done.
Mm.
You can get to a place of joy and peace where you're like, you know what? It is nice here. But there will always be something else because we are human. We're having this human experience as souls, and our goal is to continue evolving. And I don't think that finishes. We die and then we return to source, and then it starts again. It's like never really finishes. There's always something to improve upon, but you can be content and satisfied and thrilled with the life that you live.
Yes, and that's such a beautiful place to be at. Yeah, because then it just gets easier and easier to do the work. Not like a big traumatic thing anymore.
Right. Yes, definitely been there.
Okay, me too. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so part of this whole theme is invoking more self-love and self-acceptance into our lives. And that's kind of what the next question is all about, is what is your self-care routine? How do you take care of yourself? How do you show yourself that love on a practical level? What does that look like for you?
Plants. There's a point here about abundance. I don't mean to do abundance in quotations, but abundance, we are supposed to live abundantly. And there's different things that we may want in life, right? But financial abundance helps to get you some of the things that you want in life, right? And so a part of my routine, self-care routine, is taking care of my plants, but I have to buy my plants. I mean, half my plants are gifts, but I still have to buy the things to take care of the plants, right? And so I think there's a piece of being content with wherever you are that's important to a self-care routine, right? So listening to my routine, I'm just thinking, listening to my routine, the understanding is there's been a process for me, and where I am was not always where I was. And wherever you are in your journey of self-care is okay, even if it costs little to no money. My plants cost money, right? I'm just saying my plants cost money. So I spend a lot of time with my plants. That's like the beginning of my day. Meditation for me, a cup of chai tea, because I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with chai tea right now. So, buying high quality tea and then having tea in the morning and having a slow morning just sets the tone for my day. I'm just like, life is so good here. I am so thankful. I feel so peaceful. And then right onto the day. Another like big self-care thing for me is connecting with people I care about who care about me. It's like very important for me to talk to people I like on a regular basis. So I often talk to my family. I call my mother pretty often, maybe every other day. And then check in with friends. Sometimes I have like a especially spectacular morning. And then I have this outpouring of, I want to connect with everybody. I want to tell everybody how special they are to me and thank you for being you, right? Aww. Those things make me feel so good. Like I feel so good telling people, you are awesome. Thank you for existing, right? That's an important one for me.
I love that. That's actually There's this book called The Happiness Advantage by
Okay.
Sean Anker, and he studied happiness basically and what makes people happier or people, whatever. And so one of the things that he recommends in addition to a gratitude practice
Yeah.
is every day to think of somebody who has impacted your life or who you appreciate and send them a text and be like, hey, I really appreciated whenever you did this one thing for me, or I appreciate this about you. And that's exactly what you're describing. And I know that you do it because I got a text like that
I did
from
it to you.
hey. And that was so beautiful.
Was that last week? Last week? Was it the Friday last week or was it this week?
I think it might have been this week.
This week? Well, last week, let me tell you, last week, this is off subject, but let me tell you. Last week, Friday, I felt so inspired. I had been waiting for clear direction to act, right? I had ideas. I was like, I'm jotting down things. Ooh, this might be good. Ooh, this might be good. But didn't really have like an outline or, step by step, how am I going to do this kind of thing? But then I woke up on Friday and I was like, I'm recording videos today. I'm recording videos today. And I felt like doing all the things. And then one of the videos, because I feel like part of the inspired action, part of the self-care is to live life more joyfully. And then things just flow so much more easily, right? So one of the videos that I made, I posted yesterday, I think, or the day before on YouTube. Numbers don't mean much, but when you're trying to build a platform, numbers mean something. And my video got 24,000 views.
Oh my God. Congratulations.
Like, thank you. I'm like, I'm not, running after the views just for the views' sake. I really feel like I have a beautiful message that I would like to get picked up by the algorithm to share with more people.
Yes. That's awesome.
And I felt the confirmation of doing all the self-love things, right? I enjoy my days, right? I'm on this new kick of your life is lived day to day. Day to day, I have the routine with the self-care parts built into it that just makes every day feel wonderful. And then when I feel the inspired action to create something, and I'm like, oh, yes, I know exactly what I'm going to do. Clearly, the confirmation of the end result being rewarded, it just feels like they're all flowing together. Like the ideas are flowing, the manifestation of it is flowing, and then other people receiving it as something positive is flowing.
Yes, I love that.
I'm just like amazed. But yeah, I do the thing. I did it to you.
Yeah. Texting people, telling them you appreciate them. Yeah, it's amazing how it works because it makes you feel good just to tell them that. And then they feel good and they're like, oh my God, thank you. You made my day. Right. So that's a beautiful tip. But I love how you're just flowing in your life right now and you're allowing the divine flow to move through you.
Yes.
And to guide you, because that's the difference, right? Most of us are just like swimming upstream because we're letting our ego be in control, and our ego has all these ideas about what is going to make us happy and successful that's really based on programming most of the time. And so we're reaching for these things that are not necessarily in our most divine alignment. And how we know we are in divine alignment is it's actually the easiest path.
Yes.
Right. There's very little resistance. There's a lot of movement in that area and it flows. It's inspired. It's fulfilling. It's everything.
It feels good.
Feels good.
Yes. And we're supposed to feel good.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's so incredible to have awareness around that.
Right. Yeah. So what are your self-love things?
Yeah. So my self-love. So for me, self-love is definitely an energy. A lot of times people do equate it with a self-care ritual, which is part of it. But for me, it's how I view myself, and not attaching my self-worth to anything outside of me. And most recently, what this has looked like is letting go of conventional ways to spend my time. For example, you talked about your morning routine, which invokes a lot of flow and slowing down. And I have been conditioned somewhere down the line to believe that in order to become happy and successful and get all the things that you want in life, you have to get up super early and start going hard,
Yeah.
like have all the personal development bullet points, the
Yeah.
meditation, the exercise, the
Mhm.
affirmations, or whatever else.
Yeah.
And so as much as I tried to let go of that this past year, it was still kind of embedded in me, where if I slept in, I
Mhm.
would feel a little bit less worthy that day because I was like,
Mhm.
oh, I didn't hit my bullet points,
Yeah.
but I have had this shift recently where I actually have let go of that. And I realized that I'm probably never going to wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. every single day of the week,
Yeah.
so I'm just in this area of allowing myself to be led by my own spirit instead of trying to tame it and be in control. And what this has looked like for me is kind of getting up at a different time every day based on what my needs are and what feels good, and just completely not having the judgment or any of it, and just going with it and saying, okay, I'm glad that I got rest, or guess I didn't need that much sleep last night because it feels good to get up at 5 today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I think that's
Yeah.
wonderful. Well, anytime we ask ourselves, why are we doing the things that we do? Or why do I want the thing that I want, right? The intention, right? We're supposed to want things and more in life, but the intention behind it, I think is always super important. And so if doing the affirmations and the meditation and all the things feel like like doing them just to say I did them versus enjoying them, right? Then we're not really getting the benefits of the process. Like whatever you're doing, whatever your self-care routine, whatever way you look at yourself, it's supposed to help you and it's supposed to feel good. That's the theme. Do what feels good. Do what feels
Right.
do what flows, right? I did try getting up at 5 in the morning. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try this 5 a.m. thing. It was so hard. It
Yeah.
was so hard. I was also doing it when I was living in Ohio. Versus I feel like it's so much easier to get up early back home where I'm from in St. Croix, because the sun, right? I get up with the sun. For me, it's like very natural to feel energized when the sun is coming up. And back home, the sun starts rising 5:30, 6 o'clock all year.
Okay.
That's basically the
Oh.
time it rises, like all year. And so 5:30 somehow feels different back home than here in the States, where right now in Georgia, the sun is rising at 7:30. So I'm not really doing much of anything before 7:30. Not even getting out of bed. I get out of bed so that I can make my son's lunch for the day, because that's very important to me, right? That I feel energized making his lunch. But then I don't really do much. Then I go back to bed, or I sit by my plants and I don't do anything because the sun is not up. I need the sun to be up to do things. So
Wow.
yeah, it could look so much different for some people. 5 a.m. feels good. Okay, you keep doing that. You do that.
I know. You know what? I was talking to someone the other day and I was like, we were talking about being a morning person or a night person. And I had this realization that I think my spirit wants to be both.
Oh,
I'm like half of the week I'm a night person and the other
yeah.
half I'm a morning person. And just
Oh,
making that okay, right?
yeah.
Not being like, oh, well, it should be consistent.
Yeah.
Like, this is me.
Maybe it's part of your week. Well, I don't know if you're up and down during the week, but like, sometimes Monday feels like a good day to plan and do. And
Mhm.
like for me, I don't work on Fridays. This is technically work, but this feels so much like fun. I don't work on Fridays. So I usually sleep in on Friday. I sleep in as much as I can, but I usually sleep in on Fridays. I don't do anything before 10. And
Mhm.
even when I get up at 10, it's getting like my tea, it's sitting by my plant. That's what I'm doing at 10. I'm not doing things.
Yeah. I love that. I love that so much because that impacts your vibration, and your vibration is everything, right? What it comes down to, we already said it, feeling,
Yeah.
feeling good. How do you feel when you're doing the things that you're doing?
Yeah.
And it's that simple. It goes deeper into all the stories of the mind and the personal development gurus and whoever else, and down into the energy of it. Am I in harmony with life or disharmony? And
Right.
that's what is going to dictate the energy you're sending out to the universe and the experiences that come back to you.
Yeah. It's like I don't know the word, but like disharmony is an indication to get into harmony, right? It's information. So if
Yeah.
you feel unharmonious, it's like a sign that, oh, maybe shift a little,
Mhm.
maybe try something different. Maybe instead of getting up at 5, like Miss Chelsea, you know, you say, you know what does my body feel like today? What feels right today? And you just ask
Yeah.
yourself that versus just doing. I would say definitely pause, reflect, right? Journal, do all the things to see what really fits.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. Do you feel like you've had to do some deconditioning around that? Because I feel like our society is so doing and being productive. And so when we actually stop and we start saying, actually, I don't feel like doing that, so I'm not going to. Do you feel like you've had a process of releasing shame around that, or it comes
I,
more naturally?
mm, I feel like I should say yes, but I want to say no. I think part of what has happened is I grew up on an island, right? I
Um,
left as an adult. And so it was jarring to come to American culture, even though it's a US territory. It feels very much like an island where we do things slowly, where we go on island time, where we don't take ourselves too seriously, where
okay.
people are not really focused on doing and striving. People aren't really focused on striving, right? Most people build their houses themselves, even if it takes them 3 years or more to do it. So I would say, yeah, it's the striving, working hard for success has always felt like, and now that I'm in such a level of peace, right now I call it peace level 20,000, but such a level of peace, I think the looking at other people doing the striving feels so jarring. Like, why y'all working so hard? Why are y'all working so hard? Right? That's how I feel like now. Like in the last 3 months, I've probably said that so many times. I don't understand why they're working so hard. But I have been a person who worked hard. I was an overachiever, and I wanted to please my parents in school. Loved learning. And so I think the difference for me is learning, doing well in school came easy to me. So I was pleasing them, but it's not like it really took much out of me to do the
Mhm.
school thing. And then I tell people I got a doctorate in psychology because when I was 16, I knew I wanted to be a psychologist. I knew I wanted to be a psychologist. And so that's what I did. And so even though like grad school was hard, I didn't like work full time and go to grad school. I was just a student, right? I was just a student. I was a mom part time for a lot of it because my son was back home. So it's like I don't feel like the working. I'm not sure I did the whole striving thing because I've like 90% of what I did was for me because it brought me joy. Like I wasn't in school to be as, and it's one of the things, right? This is one of the things in my life because last year, so unrelated, going on a tangent, right? It all connects. Last year, I was trying to figure out why I wasn't making more money. Why is making more money so hard for me? Why was it so hard for me when becoming a psychologist didn't feel that hard? It didn't feel that hard. It was difficult, but I didn't view it at the time as something so difficult. I loved being a student, right? I was scared that after I graduated, I wouldn't know what to do. It turns out the transition was seamless. It was beautiful, but I loved being a student. And I think in after leaving and becoming a professional, now I'm this like licensed psychologist. There wasn't a thing I just loved. I didn't love money. I loved working with kids, but I didn't view the process as connected to money. And so I had to realize the same way I loved the journey of being a psychologist is the same way I needed to love the journey of becoming someone who was financially abundant. I had to love
Ooh,
the journey of being someone who was financially abundant. And that took me a year to figure out. That
wow.
took me a year to figure out. Yeah, yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
so what does that journey look like for you, becoming financially abundant?
It is because I was saying for a while, even last year, September, yeah, last year, September, I created my website for my private practice and for my Spirit Soul Sense brand. And it was hard. It was hard. And maybe part of it was the person I was working with was a worker. Yeah, I work hard. Yeah, right. And like had this vision for me of oh, you know, you can have practices in multiple states. And I was just like, who wants to work that hard? I don't want to work that hard. And then realizing, okay, do I have to work this hard? This doesn't feel right. I don't, right? And so then I took a break. And then even like with my YouTube channel, looking for that kind of success, I was, you know, wanting the end result versus enjoying the journey. So it was slowing down and saying, okay,
Oh man, yeah. Keep
I'm
going.
obviously trying too hard. I'm trying too hard. I'm trying to make something happen versus enjoying the process of it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not like I didn't have any clients, right? I had coaching clients. I had a trickle of, you know, private practice therapy clients, but it wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't what I wanted. And then I let one coaching client go because I realized I was holding on to her because she was the last one I had, right? I was bending and making myself uncomfortable to accommodate her because I wanted to say I had, you know, clients. I had clients. And so just letting it go, right? Realizing that not every client was for me. I don't have to like latch on to everyone who reaches out because I have to make sure I have enough clients. I could be like, well, you're not a good fit, or these other times that I'm working and this is it. I'm not going to try to fit somebody in my schedule just to say, right? So I slowed down and then I stuck to what I said was important for me, right? Working these set days, these set hours is important for me. I have an ideal client that I want. I'm going to stick with that person.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then things changed.
Wow.
Right.
Okay, I love that. I love that because that's an example of how slowing down actually yields more results than speeding up and trying to do and having this ego need, right? This attachment to an outcome. You know, I want this X, Y, and Z to all come together because I am buying into the illusion that when X, Y, and Z come together, I will be happy and fulfilled. I will feel some type of way, but the destination is always an illusion. And the journey, the now, the present moment is all that there is. So when we immerse ourselves in that, everything else takes care of itself.
Yes, it literally does. And then I met certain people, got certain inspirations, and then things started to flow.
And then 24,000 views on the channel.
And then 24,000 views. Yeah. And my YouTube channel is growing. No, it's growing, right? My last video, another one I made, you know, during my inspired, you know, action, is doing better than my other videos, right? And it's okay, the process that I'm on now, because I know, like the same way I knew, right? I want to become a psychologist. Like, come on, this grad school thing is fun. I love it here. Is the same way I'm now applying that, right? It felt like a puzzle to figure out for a while, but I'm now applying that to everything. Like now is perfectly all right. I like it here. You know, I'm on the journey to, you know, growing my YouTube, on the journey to this private practice being, you know, even bigger. But now it's funnier right now.
Yes, that's amazing. I love that. Living example of how that works.
Yes.
Okay, so also though, we were talking about self-care and morning routines and all these things, and we were kind of debunking these societal myths that you have to do it a certain way. And what came to mind when we were talking about that is the energy from which we do these things is also important, right? Because if we're doing them from a place of not being enough, and we think that doing the morning routine so that we can have more societal success is going to make us more whole. But what you and me are talking about right now is reversing that whole mental process and realizing that actually I'm already whole and perfect. And there's a tremendous amount of wisdom inside of my body and my heart and my being that can guide me instead of subscribing to all these outside ideas and falling victim
Right.
to those illusions.
Yes.
And it really takes us into our next point, which is what feeds your soul or what makes you feel whole.
Yes. I suppose these are similar to the self-care things. When I saw a TikTok that was talking about feeding your soul. I was like, oh, that's such a wonderful question. What feeds your soul? Like, how is it different than feeding your mind or your body? Like, we already know, like, you have to eat food. What do you do to feed your soul? And that is, you have to spend time with a higher power. God, universe, spirit, like you have to spend time, like you actually have to commune with. And there's so many different ways to do it, right? For me, spending time in nature feeds my soul.
Same, me too.
Like I feel whole surrounded by nature.
Oh,
Who
I
would
want to say
agree?
something about that.
Yes.
Okay, listen, because so many of us as human beings in modern world, right, we are buying into another illusion that we are separate from nature. But we are nature, like we are nature. We are. And so when we accept that and we embrace it and we are in it and we're observing it, we're communing with it, communing with Mother Earth, nurturing that relationship, then we have wholeness because we're no longer separating ourselves.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Which is a side, the plants remind me that I'm nature. I'm nature. I'm That's why I love the plants. Because somebody had said something about plants. Oh, you like admiring your plants? Or it was like, what is the energy exchange or something, right? The idea was that the plants are getting something from me, or I feel like my plants help me. My plants help me realize that I am one with nature. There's no separation. There is none. And walking away from the nature, then needs to be, I need to feel it inside myself, because I hate places like New York City where you can't find a plant. But yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
Yeah, it's so powerful and it's so restorative. Like my last year has been all about building a personal relationship with Mother Earth. I go out to the same spots all the time. And the more deeply I have immersed myself in these same spots that to the naked eye, to the Western eye, might feel a little bit simple or plain or boring, right? But when I'm in it and I start to notice like the millions of things that are happening around me with these micro ecosystems, microbiomes, and the bugs, right? I have befriended the bugs. I used to not like the bugs.
Oh, wow, good.
Really? Yeah.
I love that. The bugs cheer me on when I go running.
Oh,
They cheer me on.
That's
They start
awesome.
chirping louder when I'm walking. I love
that. That's beautiful. Yeah. And this is available to all of us, right? It's a mindset shift because we're so conditioned to think that bugs are pests or that nature is dirty or that we are separate or any of the things. So it takes an opening up of our mind to be willing to see things differently and then allow that opening to really take us to the next level in our spirituality and our wholeness.
You know what else I've learned from nature?
What?
The way you observe the micro ecosystems, right? I look at it, right? And I think this is so natural. There's no good or bad about it, right? There are predators and prey and things dying and things being created, but there's no wrongness in it. And then I apply that to, right, we're part of nature. And if you just look at the earth from the outside, it's like you can't see the individual people, but we are part of an ecosystem and we're all striving or trying to be more peaceful. And what's the wrongness, right? I feel like when you look at the bigger picture, like it's all evolution. Like we're all like the human species, nature, we're always evolving. It's like a process. Yeah.
Yeah, letting go of that right or wrong, because that creates more separation rather than wholeness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah. So do you have any other things, like that was super deep, but
I know.
like on a practical level that make you feel whole?
What's the other word you use? Whole or
Or that feeds your soul?
feeds my soul. Nature is really high up on the list, right? All the animals, plants, the beach, right? Those things are high up there. What else makes me feed? Okay, feed my soul, right? I think meditation, right? The meditating, praying, journaling. I think those things feed my soul because I'm like tapping in to something deeper. Working with kids feeds my soul, right? And so I feel like we all have a thing that we like doing a lot. I think, right? I'm
Yeah.
cautious about like passion versus purpose and what are you here on earth for? I think you're here to have fun. And so, but the thing that makes you feel the most fun, or you feel like alive when you're doing it, for me, that's working with kids. When I had on Wednesday, I was supposed to see 3 kids, but I only saw one. But seeing on my schedule that I had 3 kids, I was dancing in the shower. I was like so excited for my date because I love working with kids. And I feel so much of even therapy, doing therapy. I do therapy with adults, but even doing it feels like God working through me. And it feels restorative in a way that feeds my soul, that makes me feel like, wow, I'm so connected. Like to you, to them, to all the things. I feel so whole. I feel so whole. Yeah. And I'm like, I did that.
Yes, that's on my list too. I put playing with kids.
Yes, you did. And I was like, which kids you play with?
You know what? So I actually just signed up to do volunteer childcare
Oh, wow.
for this ecstatic dance event that happens in Austin. So
nice.
now I have the opportunity to exchange energy with kids. I have nieces and nephews, but I don't live in the same city as them.
Right.
So I would play with them, but it's not an option right
That's
now.
what I was thinking.
And so, yeah, so I think that that's beautiful because, you're talking about passion and purpose and the mission we came here to fulfill. And I agree that we need to be having as much fun as possible, but I think that those things coincide.
Yes.
I think the things that bring us purpose and that don't actually feel like work
Right.
are our gifts coming out and that divinity flowing through us.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yes.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so I would say for me, what feeds my soul and makes me feel whole is anything that reminds me that I'm a spiritual being having a human experience.
Ooh, I
And
like that.
sometimes that looks like singing medicine songs, singing songs that have a spiritual message in them that make me feel something.
Yes.
And dancing and being out in nature, all the things that we talked about.
Yeah. And then in our conversation earlier this week, right, I was telling you about books. I get really excited about books, right? And I'm not really like you. I think I really like books with a spiritual message, or even like The Alchemist, I don't think was meant to be a spiritual book, but I think it was written with the channeling of God through it, right? And so there are spiritual elements in it. So there's a book series called Dune, and then they made a movie about it. I saw the movie before I read the books, but the movie was so spectacular that I had to go read the books. And I think that's one of those things that like feeds my soul, like beautiful imagery, beautiful storytelling with a spiritual message, or telling the story of the hero's journey, because we can all relate to experiencing challenges in life and wanting to be better, right? Wanting to evolve as a human, right? Wanting our souls to evolve. If you haven't seen Dune, go see Dune. Listen, it's so good. I did a video on Dune. Dune is
okay. I'm gonna watch the video.
It's so good.
Okay, cool. Thanks for the recommendation. I think that's powerful. I think movies and books, even if they are fiction based, like you were talking about the Alchemist, right? They can be a beautiful reminder of the spiritual nature of our existence, and they can open up things for us. And you were talking about too, like all of the spiritual books and teachers are saying the same things, but in a million different ways. And you never know which way that message is really going to resonate with you and open you up. And that's why it's so necessary to have all these different frameworks, because the journey is ever flowing and it's always continuing, and different things are going to open us up at different times. And you also talked about how having a connection to a higher power is part of what feeds your soul. And I want to know what your relationship with God looks like and feels like, and how it became that way.
What a beautiful segue.
I know. That's like my specialty.
Let's start at the beginning. So I was born into a pretty religious family. A lot of people in the Caribbean are pretty religious, historical reasons. And so we grew up non-denominational. I have 4 sisters and my parents, right? So I was born into the church, right? Christianity, and learned all the Bible teachings very early, right? Was read Bible stories before I could read, kind of very early. And then when I was 12, I got born again, right? We said born again, Christian. Prior to that, I had already been asking the questions of, what is God and what is this devil thing? And do you really believe that if you don't believe in Jesus, your people are going to hell, right? Those were the questions I was asking. But God always resonated with me. When I got pregnant when I was 17, and I think I stopped going to church when I was 19, maybe, partly because I felt like judged for having been pregnant. I thought the emphasis on sexual sin when the Bible said that all sin was equal was weird. Why is there all this emphasis on sex when lying is just as bad as having unmarital sex, according to you all? And so it just made me, right, and now I didn't have to go, right? I'm 18, parents, you don't have to go. So I didn't go. And then, but still had lots of questions. And that's when I started transitioning from religious answers to my questions to spiritual answers. So I was following a Christian newsletter, and then wanted to I need something that's not so Christian-y, because it still feels so rigid. Like, these are women talking about, answers to regular things like depression and motivation and all these things. But the aspect that they're using is so rigid. I need something that is easier, or that's so less stressed on this Jesus character, right? Jesus is the homie. I love Jesus now. But I was just like, the way you guys are talking about it is not resonating with me. And started to read different books. And then when I was 22, 23, I think that's when I first read The Power of Now. I was like, oh, it's a wrap.
Wow, you got it early. Good for you.
Yeah, I'm never going back. I'm never going back to that stuff. And so, but I've also, in the transition, right, I've also read Reza Aslan's book, Jesus of Nazareth, because I wanted to, because the Christ energy felt real to me. The version of Jesus Christ that was in the Bible didn't feel real to me. Not that, right, I believe the miracles and all those things happened, but the way that they were talking about him didn't feel right. So I started researching, where did Christianity come from? How did it make it to the West? Who was Jesus? Did he really exist? And then other people who were enlightened, right? So Hinduism is the oldest religion. Is it Hinduism? I think it's Hinduism.
I think so.
One of those. I think it's Hinduism is the oldest religion. I still have not read the Bhagavad Gita, but it's on my list of things to do. So if there was a religion before this one, why is this one so popular? Why are most people in the world Christian, right? And so I got answers to that, right? I think Christianity gets a lot of things right, but the way that it was presented across the world has been to control people. And I wasn't on board with that. And, and then all the other things that happen that are ignored that Christians do. The fact that you could be a good person but not go to heaven. It's like, y'all are not making sense. I don't get it. So right, reading the books, doing my own, being in the present, coming to a place of peace. So now God for me is not a person or being, right? A being outside of me that I pray to. God is inside of me, and an energy that I can always tap into, always with me, and an energy I can always tap into. And I don't police people's version, experience of God. I feel like if you are living a wonderful life with joy and peace and getting exactly what you want from life, keep doing what you do. Keep doing it. But if you are not getting the outcomes that you want in life, perhaps you could think about some things differently, perhaps. Maybe. I don't know. But for me, the label, any label on God is a constriction, right? Putting God into a box.
Yeah.
So I use the word God because it's one that I'm most familiar with. I often use universe, spirit, right? I don't think God has a gender. I think it's everything and the energy that flows through everything and everyone. So yeah, I like Deepak Chopra's sense. I think it's him that started it, saying it. What is it? We are the universe experiencing itself. Yes. But it's not just us. It is literally everything, like you say, because we are a part of nature. The plants are the universe experiencing itself. The animals are the universe experiencing itself. And that universe experiencing itself, all of it, all of space, all the universes, all the planetary, all the things are God. Like it's all, right? It is, I am, and so we can tap into that energy that creates worlds. I got that from Abraham Hicks. The energy that creates worlds. That's God. You tap into can't tell me nothing.
Right? The energy that creates worlds. No, that's beautiful. That's so true. Well, and that's one of the huge powers of turning within and finding that God within us instead of outsourcing and looking everywhere outside of ourselves for the answers, for the fulfillment, for the whatever, right? When we go in, we get to access that creative power and truly step into our divine potential, and through energy manifest massive abundance.
Yes.
And whatever it is that we want,
whatever you want.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? Can you believe it? That's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I have a
you're not gonna tell
evolution.
us?
Yes, there's an evolution in my story as well with higher power. So it started off being like semi-Christian growing up. My parents weren't very serious about taking us to church. So there was kind of like this elusive God that sometimes I would pray to. And then I started rebelling when I was in my adolescent years, and that was largely influenced by my older sister, who was also a rebel. And I kind of subscribed myself to atheism for a while. And then when I went into recovery, which was actually earlier because I was dating this guy when I was 19 who was like a raging alcoholic, and he danced with 12-step recovery a little bit. And I went to Al-Anon, which is the program for people who love people who have addiction. And so I started connecting vaguely with the universe. That was my idea of a higher power. And so I had my relation, the seed was planted, you could say. And then years later, when I was like 27, I went to recovery for my own purposes, to deal with my own addictive relationship to drugs and alcohol. And that's when I really started building my relationship with the universe. And as that happened, my concept of the universe and my higher power began to evolve to encompass all of the things: spirit, source energy, God, all of it, because I started to realize that it really is an energy. It's love. It's this all-knowing, intelligent, beautiful cosmic life force that permeates all of existence, and it's in everything. So it really began to expand for me. And what my relationship looks like with that today is similar to what you're talking about. I recognize it within me and also around me, in everyone and everything. And sometimes there are challenges, right? When we are going through personal conflict with somebody, when we start to feel annoyed or triggered by something someone does, being able to remember that they are also an incredibly divine being with an ego, just like
Yeah.
me, just like
Yeah.
me. We all have an ego.
Indeed.
Yeah, but I pray at night just to, it's really about invoking gratitude before I go to bed. I
Yes.
pray to the universe and I say three things I'm grateful for. And then I send out a blessing to whoever is on my heart. Maybe it's a whole group of people, maybe it's everyone, maybe it's a specific person. And I meditate and I tap in. And yeah, there's a few different ways, but I think that for me, my goal as a spiritual being having a human experience is to really live that statement out, which means I'm always aware that I am a spiritual being and I'm having a human experience. I have one foot in both worlds,
Yes.
and just living like that.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
goal for
Yeah.
me.
I love that.
Thanks.
I love it so much.
Thanks. So
Thanks
I
for
feel
sharing.
like, what's that?
Thanks for sharing.
Yes, it's an honor to share always. And then it's such another perfect segue. I can't pass up the perfect segue,
Oh,
which is how you describe your internal guidance system.
oh yeah. As you were telling that story, I was thinking about that when we had that conversation. Um, my internal guidance system. So for me, I feel like being indecisive has been another theme for me,
Okay.
feeling like my head is telling me one thing and that my heart or my inner being is telling me something else. Or is it three things? I can't remember now. What what I said before. But
Your
I
gut.
have to realize that my mind that can have a tendency to go and go is usually tapped into the world and what I feel I should be doing versus what really feels authentic and true to me. And so whenever they are disagreeing, that's when I feel the conflict because deep down, I know what I'm supposed to do. I always know what I'm supposed to do, but don't really want to do it or don't feel ready to do it. And sometimes I stay in limbo. I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I think that's common.
Yeah. And then to get out of that, I do the slowing down and meditate and then right give myself permission to be confused and to feel like I don't know what to do, but then also remind myself that my inner self always has the answers. And if I look inward and be receptive and open, then I will know which direction to go. And so that's what I've been using for my internal guidance system. I used to, I think I used to impulsively do things when I felt indecisive. I would just pick one. I hated the feeling of indecisiveness. I would just pick one and stick with it. I would just stick with it. Even if I changed my mind later or something else felt right, now I don't pick one. I know, hey, I've been here before. I know there's an inner conflict in myself, and that's okay. I'm going to get more clarity on this by reflecting and slowing down. I'm not making a decision, right? And not saying I'm going to do this or I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to stay in limbo for a little while. And the more I've done that, the less time it's required for me to feel guidance, right? Where now I just feel things flow much more easily and I'm able to view the thought that says you should be doing this as just a thought that says I should. Who says I should? I'm gonna do what feels right. I'm gonna do what feels like it flows and feels like the path of least resistance. That's what I'm gonna do.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I love how you're highlighting the experience of making indecision be okay.
Yeah.
It's part of loving your whole self.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And how when we do that, when we just unconditionally love ourselves wherever we're at,
Yeah.
it gives way, it creates space for transformation. It's just a natural part of loving ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So,
Your internal guiding system.
okay, yeah, mine is like very multifaceted
Yes.
at this point because of, I guess, my journey. I've just come into contact with a lot of different ways to experience my internal guidance system. So first of all, I have my inner counsel, which I've never talked about on this podcast before.
Oh, look at
Yeah.
that. Feel blessed.
Yes, yeah, it's really important. So it is made up of my mind, my heart, my emotions, and my body. And these are all individual parts of me that I have a visual, I can tap into them. They're connected to the 4 cardinal directions. And they offer different things. Like the mind always wants to be in charge and have all the answers, but I listen to the mind and I appreciate it, but I also give it instruction because our minds actually do really well with instructions and being the tool that it is. And then the heart has the soul plan, which is our blueprint, right? Our soul mission. And so the heart is really in charge out of all of them. They all play a role, but the heart has the soul plan. So when I need major life decisions or even small ones, I know that whatever comes from my heart is pure and in my highest interest.
I like that.
Yes. And the emotions are, of course, messengers, and they give me information when I'm, and the visual that I get when I think of my emotions is water, like ocean. And sometimes it can be turbulent, but most of the time these days, before, it's so funny when I first started doing this inner work with my mentor, and she's the one who guided me through this process of learning my inner counsel. The emotions were such a mess. They were flooding everything. They were all over the place. And that's how my life was.
Wow.
But today they're just like so calm and serene.
Yes.
Yeah. And so they provide awesome guidance. And then my body, which we were talking about a little bit, how our bodies have a consciousness of their own. And when we just slow down, tap in and listen, it's so healing, and we can get so much beautiful information and further instruction on how to live our best lives based on what our body tells us. So I can always consult them. And then I also have my higher self, which in meditation is kind of like this ball of light that I invite to infuse with my whole being. And then I become my higher self. And sometimes I can see things from a higher perspective. And I do like some traveling in the astral realms with being my higher self.
Yes.
And there's great guidance there. I also have this guiding light that is in my solar plexus, kind of. It's like the core of my being. And sometimes when I just need a really quick decision, I'll just close my eyes and I'll imagine the 2 decisions in front of me, or however many there are. And I ask my guiding light to illuminate which one is in my highest interest. And then bam, there you go.
There you go.
Yes. And then we get into shamanism, which is I have my power animal and helping spirits when I do shamanic journeys. So, girl, I'm telling you, it goes deep. But
it is deep. A whole episode just on that.
I just realized that. Yeah.
That's really good, though. That is powerful. I think the breakdown and then the ability to tap in and feel actual guidance, asking for clarity, and then having a visualization of it. That's beautiful. I mean, it's like, what can you not do? Wow.
Yeah, it is powerful. I recommend it.
Yes.
Just building that out. And it's for me, it's like whatever has felt good and true, because I went through this whole chapter where I was looking for spirit guides.
Yes.
And I found some. Okay. But I realized that some spirit guides have never been human. Like they've always existed in the spirit realm. So the guidance that they give us, that's not taking into consideration all of the human things that we go through. And so the point is, I know this is like getting off track, but the point is always finding what resonates with you.
Yes.
If it's all of these archetypes and the inner council and the higher self, that's beautiful. Or if it's just tapping in and feeling your body and knowing a full body yes from a no.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Simple.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually being able to clearly understand the message received. Yes, yes. We
Yeah,
have options. We're diverse. There are
we
lots
are.
of ways to do this work, right? And we
Yes.
shared our two perspectives. Other people have different ways of doing it. And if it's working and you're able to enjoy your life, gain clarity, peace, joy, that's what you should keep doing. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. Okay, so I feel like we could definitely talk for hours and hours like we do, but we are running out of time. So let's finish up with our gratitude question, which is, Shareece, what do you absolutely love about your life today?
Oh my
Because
goodness.
of doing the work, right?
Yes. Yes. That's such a good question. I love this question so much because my life feels so good right now. It feels so good. My son is so happy. He's thriving. He has friends. He has a new cologne.
A new cologne?
A new cologne.
Okay.
Yeah. He
The little things.
I know it's the little things. My son being thrilled with life is, I don't know what could feel better. Like watching him walk around the house singing, doing his little chops and because
Karate chops.
he's in Muay Thai. That brings me so much joy. Like this little human is enjoying the process of life.
Because you are the example, you're modeling it to him.
I'm able to model it to him. Yeah. So
Incredible.
that's really beautiful. I really, really love that about life. What else I love about life? I like having money.
Yeah.
Honestly, as a person who's been a poor college student for a long time, being able to work in a field that I really, really love, create my own business that I really, really love, and then also have money flow to me feels amazing. Like it feels like, wow, I really tapped in. Wow, I love that. Yeah. And so having more money than I need is a new thing for me, right? Last year I started making real money, real money. But this year I'm making even more money. And I'm still like so excited. I'm still like, wow, I can make as much money as I want. Like now,
Yes.
that right? All the affirmations that I was doing about money flows to me easily. And I'm aligned with the energy of money, like all those things that I was doing to get in alignment with money feels like a knowing now. Like I'm not doing it because I'm hoping that I can be aligned. I am aligned and I have this knowing. The clarity is insane, right? Things are happening in my life now and I'm like, oh, I can see so clearly how this is here to help me. I can see it so clearly. I've never, and I thought I guess I've always been sort of self-aware but the work is never done, right? And so now I'm like, oh, who will I be at 40? Because she's it's so nice here. It's so nice here. And then this year I met you, which is also another thing I'm really, really loving about life. I've always like prioritized women friendships because I have 4 sisters and my parents prioritized a sisterhood friendship. And so expanding that, right? Because I've usually had like 1 or 2 really good women friends. Now I have more. And really, really enjoying the connection and the getting to know. It's so good. Like it's so good. My plants are thriving. I barely kill them nowadays. I mean, it's been a learning curve for the plants, but like I love that I can wake up in the morning and move slowly. I love that my week looks exactly like what I want it to look like. I love that I have free time to think and create and relax and be on podcasts and right. I
Yes.
don't know. I love
Awesome.
cooking and baking because I have more time for that now. There's so much about life I love right now.
That's beautiful. I love that. And that's because you did the work, right? It's like not everybody has to do the work. There's definitely a comfort level when it comes to being asleep and staying asleep spiritually, right? Because you know what to expect to life from life. Everything is the
Yeah.
same. It's the same
Right.
hamster wheel, right? Day after day. But what you can also expect is that you're probably never going to have the time to have all of the things in life that actually bring you joy,
Right.
right? Like the power of slowing down and tapping in and saying, where am I in disharmony? And it might be a lot, it might be overwhelming. For me,
Yeah.
I used to be incredibly emotionally unstable and life was super challenging. And so it can feel a lot easier and more comfortable to just distract
Right.
from our own inner worlds. But just being with you right now and hearing your share and how much space there is in your life, and yet you're making more money than ever, and yet you're happier than ever, you have more plants than ever. I can see them in the background.
Yes, I have more fun. I've net right. This was another like clarity thing. Like I used to not want to accumulate plants because I was like, I don't know where my life is going. Now it's so
Yeah.
clear. I can have nice things.
Oh, that's beautiful. You're being grounded in who you are and where you're going instead of like being in this space of not wanting to commit to anything
Right.
because everything is just not certain.
Right.
There's a lot of anxiety in,
Because I wasn't feeling certain, right?
right?
Yeah. Similar to you. I've come a long way. I tell people this has been a 10-year journey for me.
Yeah.
It's been a long journey, and I was in the thick of it for a long time with healers and therapy and reading the books
Mhm.
and crying all the time, crying out of pain, not like happy tears, like pain. I was in pain. I was in like
Mhm.
spiritual pain. And so really,
Yeah.
this is not an overnight thing. This is not a, I went to one seminar and oh my God, I just no. No, if you look at my channel, I was in a whole abusive relationship. Life was not lifing. Life was hard. It was hard. It was a lot of disharmony. So the harmony and peace and joy, I mean, like you say, the space to be and do and create and have more.
Mhm.
Oh, I love it here.
Yes, it's incredible. It's like we reach a point, and I think this is almost akin to enlightenment, where we are doing all this work and we're
Yeah.
just relentlessly trying to feel better, trying to reach a goal, and doing all of this seeking. And it does come from a place kind of not being whole because we don't feel whole, right? Like I felt unstable and all these other things. But then after doing so much work, for me, it was a couple years, then something clicks where it's just like, actually, now I'm whole, I'm complete, I'm
Yeah.
stable. And I'm glad that I was relentlessly searching for so long, because now I feel like I don't have to search anymore. The journey will continue to unfold. There's always more to heal. But it's like you're saying, you reach a point where, even though the healing is never done, a certain level of healing is done to
Yes.
where you can just
Yeah.
coast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yay. Thank you for sharing that. Yes. Okay. So mine is pretty much the same. I said, I love how emotionally stable I am. I love the level of self-trust, self-respect, and self-love that I have built in my life. I love how consistently happy and grateful I feel. I catch myself feeling so grateful on a daily basis for the smallest things. Like I just walk into my apartment and I'm like, wow, it's so beautiful in here. And I love how the divine flow guides my life and how aware I am that
Mhm.
it's guiding me, instead of life just being so chaotic and not really understanding the spiritual nature of our existence. I love how easy it is to flow with it rather than trying to swim upstream. And I love being able to be aware of my ego and befriending it rather than allowing it to control and limit what my soul is truly capable of.
Amen. That's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. And you say the same thing I say. I wish this for everyone.
Yes. Everyone.
I want everyone to feel like, you know what? You were in pain, but there are things that you can do to stop being in pain and then to thrive, not just to keep existing or, okay, now I don't feel pain, but actually thoroughly enjoy your life.
That's right. And, we are one with nature and we are one with each other. And the more that we lift ourselves up and we lift other people up, the better quality of life the whole world is going to be.
Yes.
So hopefully everybody listening to this, tuning into this episode, has some takeaways and some inspiration to really love yourself unconditionally, to find out what doing the work means to you, and to just stay committed to that journey, realizing that the destination will be forever illusory. And it's all about this moment right now.
Yes.
Do you have any final thoughts, Shareece, before we close?
It's worth it.
The work is worth it.
Yeah, doing the work is worth it. And getting help is okay. And tapping into your guidance system is necessary. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then along the way, you'll meet even more wonderful people to enrich your lives.
Yes. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yes.
So have faith. Okay, wonderful. Well, it's been an honor having you come on the show as sort of a low-key co-host today.
I know, right?
An experiment. Yes, and of course, we will link to Shareece's information and all of the resources that were mentioned throughout this episode in the show notes. So I want to thank you again so much for coming on, Shareece.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you to all of our amazing listeners and viewers. This has been another episode of the Soulful Self podcast. I will talk to y'all next week.